Brother, my brother, tell me what are we fighting for? We got to end this war. Hello everyone, it's Tyrant, and welcome to yet another new What If series. Now, I've been wanting to do a Dragon Ball scenario ever since I started doing What Ifs. But the only problem was, I couldn't really find an idea that either had not already been done before, or hasn't been put into words that would have been better than my own. So, here's one that is not uncommon, but still could be fun to experiment with. And that idea is, what if Raditz went to Earth with Goku? Now, I know there are quite a few problems with this idea. Firstly, Raditz is older than Goku, so how he would actually be going to Earth would be a bit difficult. Plus, he was already with Vegeta on another planet at the time Goku was sent to Earth. So, how do we actually fix those two issues? How am I going to tackle this? To do this properly, we need to first get a good estimate of how old Raditz is. But to do that, we need to first get a good idea of how old Vegeta is. Thanks to the Dragon Ball Super Broly movie, we can get a pretty good guesstimate of what we're looking for, since it's shown that both Vegeta and Raditz are about the same age. Vegeta was born in the age of 732. Goku was born in the age of 737, meaning that Raditz has to be, at most, 5 years old. However, since we do have a pretty good chunk of wiggle room to work with, I'm going to say that Raditz was born in the year of 733, meaning he's about 4. Okay, now that we have a good guesstimate of how old Raditz is, how does he go to Earth with Goku if he's on another planet with Vegeta at the moment? Well, that's simple. We make him not on that planet, by saying that he was simply denied permission to go on that mission. Mainly for reasons that don't really need to be disclosed. Simply because it doesn't really matter that much. It's not going to factor too much into the story other than why Raditz is not on the planet. And with that, we have our setup. So why don't we stop wasting time? This is the beginning of What If Raditz Went to Earth with Goku? Our story begins on Planet Vegeta. Bardock is returning home under order of Lord Frieza, along with a large number of other Saiyans. Like in the original canon, Bardock is very suspicious about what's going on here, while the other Saiyans aren't really connecting any real dots that would warrant them worrying about any danger. Upon arriving home, Bardock is welcomed with open arms by his wife Gine, and he also sees that Raditz is at home, just helping his mother around the shop, because, hey, he's got nothing better to do. He then inquires about how Kakarot is doing, asking him if he's still in the nursing capsule. To which Gine replies that, yes, he is, and he should be allowed to come out really soon. And the whole family goes back to go check on him, even though Raditz is a bit reluctant to do so, simply because, Kakarot's not really his favorite person, despite him being his own baby brother. Like the original canon, Bardock of course makes some remarks about Kakarot's size. And yeah, even Raditz kind of chimes in with his own smug remarks, much to Gine's dismay. That is where things got quiet for a little bit. And then Raditz tells his family that, in the dead of night, he's going to take a few Saiyan pods, and he wants both Raditz and Kakarot to be sent away to somewhere where they would be safe, in fear that Frieza may be indeed plotting to destroy the Saiyan race. Gine is, of course, reluctant to this idea, simply because of how insane it sounds. While Raditz, on the other hand, is a bit more understanding to a degree, because he is much more cautious when it comes to Saiyans. I mean, he still doesn't understand why he has to go with Kakarot, of all people. Just a weak Saiyan. But then he also remembers that these are his parents and this is his brother he's talking about. So, kinda doesn't really have much of a choice if this is the way they're going. Ultimately though, yes. Both Raditz and Kakarot are sent away to Earth. But before that does happen, in the dead of night, Gine makes Raditz promise her that Raditz will look after his little baby brother, Kakarot. And he does, reluctantly, make that promise. Lastly, Bardock tells Raditz that if he's wrong about this, and Frieza does not destroy them, he will come back for them. With one last hug, Raditz and Kakarot are sent away to Earth. Planet Vegeta is destroyed, unbeknownst to Raditz and Kakarot, and just like in the original canon, there's only a handful of Saiyans left alive in the entire universe. The two Saiyans arrive safely on Earth, landing on Mount Paozu, which draws the attention of an all-too-familiar mountain hermit, who we know as Grandpa Gohan. The old man was on a walk and decided to investigate since two objects just fell from the sky. Who wouldn't want to check that out if you're old or not? And what he sees is two craters, each with a pod inside of them. He decides to go check out the one on his left first. And what he sees in this pod is a baby with a tail, which is very perplexing to him. He's never seen anything like this. But just as he's about to put him in his basket, he hears a very shrill, boyish scream yell out, "Get away from him!" And something kicks him in the side, sending him flying and forcing him to let go of the baby. It was, of course, Raditz, who catches Kakarot, has a quick look around, and flies away as fast as he can to get away from this man, whoever he is. After taking a brief time to recover, Grandpa Gohan gets up, takes a look around, shrugs, and continues on with his walk. Whatever just happened is none of his business. He could have sworn that boy that just kicked him also had a tail, but none of his concern. So, yeah, he's just gonna let those boys be for now and just continue walking. Although he is a bit concerned at the back of his mind, but hey, he has no way of finding them, so best let someone else deal with it and just hope he comes across them again, if at all. Later, Raditz and Kakarot take refuge in a cave, just trying to get their bearings and making sure they're in a safe-ish place. They've never been to this world before. Everything around them is new to them, especially Raditz, who is the only one who can really speak and really perceive what's going on. So, at least for a little while, Raditz and Kakarot just lay low, living off the fat of the land, and to much success. After all, this is what Saiyans do half the time. Just camped out on the worlds they are trying to conquer, eating wildlife, and this being Mount Paozu, there is plenty of it to go around, from fruits, fish, game, and the occasional wild dinosaur. Mount Paozu doesn't really get that much foot traffic given that it's a very wild area, so for the most part, Raditz and Kakarot are able to stay up there virtually undetected for a pretty good while, like a month even. The only person that they would probably come across would be Grandpa Gohan, who isn't really actively looking for those two. But one day, Raditz accidentally drops Kakarot, giving him that famous head injury, and Kakarot then falls very, very ill, forcing Raditz to look for help, to save his baby brother. After all, he's grown quite attached to the little guy, and he is his only family left in the world, as far as he knows. Time passes, and it even starts to rain. Raditz is getting more and more desperate to find help, and luckily, he manages to find a small house with the lights on. It turns out to be the home of that old man they came across about a month ago. And he sees them. Filthy. Cold. Frightened. And he's more inclined to help the two out. And he offers them to come inside. Raditz is cautious, but he doesn't really have that many options, so he relents and allows the old man to help them. After tending to Kakarot's head injury, Gohan attends to Raditz, giving a hot meal and introducing himself as, well, Gohan. And then asks Raditz what he and this baby are doing out in the wilderness alone. Where are their parents? Raditz would then introduce himself as, of course, Raditz, and the baby as his brother Kakarot, and then would tell Gohan that he and his brother were sent here by their parents, supposedly to avoid danger? Their parents were a bit paranoid about something, they wouldn't tell them what. But that's pretty much the extent of his knowledge of the situation. And of course, he does tell him about the whole Saiyan race, and we get all of that exposition, and the more Raditz tells Gohan about that, the more and more perplexed he is about all this information. He's never really thought about the whole concept of an alien race that conquered and destroyed other alien races. But still, he decides to look after the boys. He can see that there is some good in Raditz, he just lacks discipline. And Gohan has the perfect solution to that. Gohan offers Raditz and his brother to stay with him. And Raditz actually takes time to think about this. On the one hand, he's a bit embarrassed to have help from a foreign alien race, and it kind of does damage his pride to even think about such a thing. I mean, he's a Saiyan after all. This is something they would never really do. But on the other hand, he did promise his mother that he would look after Kakarot. And plus this man hasn't really done anything inherently bad to do any harm to them. Plus he helped them when he needed it. So yeah, Raditz does take up on Gohan's offer, and allows Gohan to raise them as his own sons. Over time, Grandpa Gohan teaches the two boys martial arts, mostly to discipline Raditz, and for the most part, it does work. Raditz is still a bit more merciless, but at the same time, he is still starting to grasp the concept of mercy. As for Kakarot, he's really enjoying this. He likes the idea of fighting. I mean, yeah, he's not as good as Raditz, but hey, fighting, fun. He is still a Saiyan after all. But the biggest takeaway is, we never get the name Goku. Raditz and Kakarot are still Raditz and Kakarot. Years now pass. It is now age 749. Kakarot is now 12 years old, and Raditz is 16. Grandpa Gohan is still alive and kicking. And, for the most part, Raditz is enjoying his life on Earth. It's not that much different than being on a mission, just more prolonged. The only difference is he's not killing anyone, and you know what? He's okay with that. He is really enjoying his time here in the woods. It's a very peaceful existence. He didn't really think he would enjoy something like this. But one day, Kakarot brings home a very peculiar blue-haired girl. Apparently while he was out fishing. And she is apparently looking for something. Something of great importance. And she believes that Grandpa Gohan may be in possession of it. And, sure enough, he does. It is the 4-star Dragon Ball. But only a problem is, it's not really his to give away. It's actually Raditz. Yes, in this timeline, the 4-star ball belongs to Raditz. The Power Pole does still belong to Kakarot like in the original timeline, but here, I'm going to give the 4-star ball to Raditz, simply so Gohan can give each of his adopted sons something to remember him by, should he ever go away. Or, die, but yeah, he's still around for years to come. Bulma tries to swindle the ball off Raditz, but because of his more cautious nature, it doesn't really work. Ultimately resulting her to offering Raditz to come with her. And Kakarot kinda wants to come along with them. Grandpa Gohan warns Raditz that if he does this, he might not see the 4-star ball ever again, but he just says that it's no big deal. If this is true and he doesn't see the 4-star ball again, he can just go look for it. He doesn't quite have the same attachment to it because Grandpa Gohan is still alive. So, Raditz, Kakarot, and Bulma set off on a whirlwind adventure, and thus we begin the events of Dragon Ball. And that is where you're going to be leaving things for now. And there you have it, the first part of many. What will happen now that we have a young Raditz added to the Dragon Ball team? Well, you're just going to have to find out in the next part. Anyway, that is all for now. Thank you all for watching. Be sure to like, subscribe, and hit that bell icon for more. And I'll see you all next time. See you later.